This trip saw the Ditherer and I, and our trusty shovel slave Don Johnson, heading back to Wildwood Cottage at Ophir. We arrived at Wildwood just after dawn, having travelled through the night via C-47, Lego ice cream van, and eventually bagpipe. Larry, the owner of Wildwood, caught up with us at the gates. He was up doing whatever farmers do at that hour of the morning, like crutching fence posts or something agricultural. Anyway, he'd promised to show us around, and he spent the next few hours driving us around his massive property, showing us quartz reefs and the old diggings in various places and bends in the river we would have otherwise never located. It should of course be no surprise that Larry knows the property like the back of his hand. It's been in his family for generations. As a young fella he used to wash pans of dirt in the dam, and his mother's even kicked over nuggets while tending the sheep at the back paddock. After our little tour we were pretty hungry, so we stopped and had a bite to eat. And then after that, down to the creek to set up the gear. I got back in and cleared out the end of my old trench, noting as I did the efforts of some other prospectors that had obviously come to our little creek. The Ditherer was dithering about with the new modifications he'd made to the Hogwash, and Don Johnson was digging for his supper. While the Ditherer was dialling in the Hogwash, Don Johnson and I were asked to hit the feed fairly slow. By mid-afternoon we'd been dithering for a while, and the processing speed really hadn't picked up. This shot shows that little trench that I've been working on for the last few trips. We were back out on the creek at the crack of 10:30 the next morning, after some more dithering and discussions about design considerations. The skid plate here needed to be an inch shorter at least.
And Paul's rate of feed is perfect.
Feeding material at this rate was completely unsustainable. We have to make some field modifications if we wanted to be able to process with two blokes shoveling as fast as we could. Below the first sluice with the gold hog matting, we'd once again laid out our river sluices, each at a different slope angle, to make sure that we get different water depths and different velocities. Try and get the gold that would drop out in different ways.
Too much water.
The need for a field modification is pretty much patently obvious here. It can become mesmerising watching the sluice, watching the water in the sluice change colour with the material as it gets dumped in from above and washed. In my opinion, the flow over the top matting is still too turbulent in this configuration. I think with the way this skid plate is set up, there's undoubtedly material being lost over the back of the grizzly bars. If you watch our next video, you'll see that that whole system has completely changed. Back in the comforts of home, the Ditherer and I set up his miller table. We tested it a few times with some black sands, and we started to put ever richer little bits of concentrate through it to see what would happen, making sure the gold was staying on the table where it was supposed to. After ample dithering, we eventually got round to putting the good bits of the concentrates on the table. For the entire trip we ended up doing about 8 hours digging, but we probably should have been able to do that much digging in an hour if we had been able to process the material fast enough. The final tally was actually 1.45 grams. Plus a little bit for a couple of pickers that we put in with some other gold. Once again, I'd like to thank our hosts, Larry and Dee Pitts, owners of Wildwood Cottage. It's a lovely property, we always enjoy our time there, and their openness and hospitality and friendliness are a wonderful reminder of what this country's all about. Ditherer and Son proudly support Prospecting Australia.